Hello, my running brothers and sisters. This is Running Book Reviews, where you can get a detailed review of a book before deciding whether to buy it for yourself. Or maybe you just want a bit of extra inspiration or motivation to power your training along. Well, you've come to the right place. My name's Alan Miller, and along with my co-host Liz Macrusa, today we're going to review the book Strong by Kara Goucher. Liz, this is a book that you've been interested in for a while, so maybe you could tell us a bit about it.
Yep. So I was very excited to read this book because Kara is definitely someone I look up to. I've been following her for years. I'm a total Kara groupie, even though I'm a Canadian and I should be cheering on Canadian marathoners. But it all started in 2012 when Canada didn't send any women for
Didn't
the
have
Olympic.
qualifiers, or
They didn't. So they had two really good women that year, but they didn't get the Canadian standard. So they got
okay.
the Olympic standard, but Canada had I don't remember, sub 230 standard or something, and they didn't get that. But they were running 232 or something. They weren't super far off, and I think the Olympic standard is 237. So they were definitely, they definitely could have gone, but they didn't go. So anyway, so I was kind of disappointed that year that it was the Olympics, and I kind of knew more about marathoning at that point. I wanted to cheer for the women because I'm a woman and I just want to cheer for my own, I guess.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I ended up following the US women instead, since they're our neighbors in the South. And Kara Goucher was one of the three that went, and it was Shalane Flanagan and Desi. Well, now her last name is Linden, but it was a different last name in 2012.
Okay. Still
Yeah,
pretty famous characters today. So even
they
though that was
are.
back in 2012.
Yeah, so I was really excited to read this book because she gives tips on how to on what a confidence journal is and how to do your own. And I had a little bit of we had a little bit of experience with a sports psychologist when I was running for Concordia, but it's been a while, so I thought that this would be a good refresher.
Okay, cool. So this book is about confidence journals, or a confidence journal.
Yeah, so
That's what you're telling us. It's not about Kara herself.
it's not
It's
about
by
Kara
Kara.
herself. It's by Kara. There is a section that outlines kind of all her accomplishments, which there are a lot of them. It's pretty impressive. But no, the book is about writing a confidence journal. So she kind of goes, there are different sections. It's about confidence. So the confidence journal is part of it, but she talks about confidence. So it's about improving your confidence.
So I'm not the only one who has imposter syndrome when I turn up to run and go, I'm not going to be able to do this.
No.
My training isn't enough. I'm not going to be able to beat these people.
No, apparently
everybody
not.
all the way up to the top has this feeling.
Exactly. Yep. So actually in reading it, you see that she's very much like every other runner in that way. I mean, we all struggle with those things, that we don't feel like we belong. And I mean, you see her accomplishments and you would be like, the natural thing to think is, oh, she must be confident about her abilities, but she had to work on it. So it's kind of encouraging for the rest of us because it means that everybody can work on it because it's more of a process and not a given.
Okay, so it's a mindset book and it's a self-help book to some extent for runners.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that Kara was in the American Olympic team in 2012 because you just told us. For people who don't know Kara Goucher, do you want to just give us a bit more info on her and her background?
Yep, so that's not where it started. She was a two-time US Olympian. So the first time was in 2008 in Beijing. She ran the 5K and the 10K. She was bronze medalist in the 10K. So she was on the cover of Runner's World magazine 7 times, which that's pretty impressive.
Oh, that's hogging it a bit. I've never been on the cover. Have you?
Well,
Have you ever been on the cover?
I've never been on the cover, but she's had such a super long career that I mean, because now we're reading back in 2008. She was third in 2009 at the Boston Marathon, which I mean, podium in the Boston Marathon
Yeah,
is super difficult,
yeah,
right?
running against some serious opposition there.
Yeah, so she was the second time she went to the Olympics on the US team was in 2012 for the marathon in London. She was fastest ever American women's marathon debut, which was, I believe that was the 2008 New York City Marathon, which she ran in 2:25:53 and was third. I mean, 2:25:53 for your debut marathon, that's incredible. And another major marathon, New York City, and she was third place, which I mean, how many I know Shalane did it a couple of years ago. She was I think she won it, but they don't always have like these marathon majors are often dominated by the
Yeah,
Ethiopians and the
it's normally the Africans, isn't it? East
yeah,
Africans.
exactly. So you have she was on the podium. She was the American half marathon record holder. Maybe she still is. And 2007 Great North Run half marathon, which she ran in
Oh, the Great North Run in
106.
England, in Newcastle, England. That's where I was born.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh, see? So now you should be a carrot groupie as well.
I should be. Yeah, actually ran that race in 2004, I think. Or
Oh,
maybe it
that
was
was
94. No, it was 94. Oh,
oh,
terrible.
oops.
I'll forget it.
That was yeah,
Let's not talk about it.
she might not have been running at that time.
No, she's probably just a school kid at that point. But
Yeah. Um
a big list of achievements. Now,
yeah.
one of the most celebrated women runners in long distance, I guess, in the US.
Yep. The other thing was the she got a world track and field medal in the 10,000 meter. Okay, so I think that was where she was third, but then was uh was upgraded to second because somebody was caught doping. I think that was the one. I'm not sure. I might be confused between it might have another race. I'm not really sure, but either way, she was second in the 10,000 meter, which is another race that's very much dominated by the Africans. So yeah, she's a fantastic fantastic runner, and she's had a super long career starting when she was in university. Yeah, she's just amazing. And she, even 2016, she was just off of making the Olympic team for a third time. I mean, she was
Yeah,
fourth.
she came
Like,
fourth in the qualifiers. Yes, I remember that.
and fourth by, I mean, a few seconds. I mean, she
Yeah.
wasn't that far off. So, yeah, she could have been three-time Olympian.
She's also had a bit of controversy recently over the Nike Oregon project that she ran with.
Mm-hmm.
This book's from 2018, so it comes after all of those issues where she's separated, and Salazar, the coach, ended up getting a 4-year ban because
Yeah,
of his
which
practices there. And I guess all of that's still going on.
I think it's still going on
Yeah.
because I mean they only banned him recently, so I don't know if yeah, I don't really know how that all works, but he did a lot of damage to a lot of women from what we've been hearing lately
Well, I think
with
Kara gets kudos for having the courage and bravery to speak out over some of the things that were going on in the
definitely.
training program there. Props
Yeah,
to her.
definitely. Mhm.
That's probably where she learned how to be strong. So she's
Probably,
sharing that with us.
or maybe she was already strong at that point, because I think you need to be strong to do that kind of thing. I mean, it's super tough, especially, I don't know how many people she had on board with her, but it's a whole entire program that she's taking on, a whole like industry almost that
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty it can be pretty overwhelming, I can imagine.
Okay, so that's Cara. Pretty qualified to tell us how to build our confidence as a runner. And so, what form does the book take? How does it go from there?
So it's not, there's not too much writing. So it's not about the whole theory about why you should improve your confidence and all that kind of thing. If you want that, that would be a different type of book. It's more like a bit of a how to exercise manual kind of crossover thing. So there is a little bit of theory because she talks about different ways to improve your confidence. So, like, she has different sections in the book. So, there's positive self talk, creating a mantra, setting goals, enclothed cognition, which I had never heard that term before, but like once she explains it, I get it. Power pose, which is a technique that I think you learn about in at least I did. It was when I was getting ready to do my stage, and you have to go in for interviews. So the co-op team at school, they talked about power pose and visualization techniques, power words, social connections, and all those things can sort of be used for confidence. And so some of them are
Okay,
just
so this is the list of,
described.
if I look at the book, there's 8, I think, confidence techniques.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be it. Yep. So some of them are like she kind of explains them because there's not really, yeah, I guess there's not really much practice to it. For example, enclosed cognition, which I found out
Wear
is,
your go faster shoes. We decided that means,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty cool because I think it's something that everybody sort of does. It's like
Yeah, it's true.
you go to a race and you
Yeah.
have your like superstitious, like, these are my lucky
Yeah.
socks kind of thing.
I have a singlet that I've worn for maybe 8 out of the last 10 marathons that I've done.
Oh, wow.
It's like my go-to singlet because
Okay.
it just feels right, it just feels good, and that's what
Yeah.
enclosed cognition is like.
I
It's,
had
yeah.
I had for a while these compression socks, and what color were they? I think they were orange.
No, they'd be
No,
pink
they were
if they were
red.
yours. They would be
No,
pink if
they
they were
were
yours.
red. They were red because at
Okay,
the time I
go
was
faster,
running.
red.
Yeah, exactly. They were these knee-high socks, and I had run a really good half marathon in them. So I thought these are my lucky socks, and I wore them for a ton of races after, until I ran really badly, and I'm like, I think these have lost their luck,
They've
and I
lost their
stopped
magic.
wearing them.
I've used up all the magic in the socks.
I used up all the
Yeah.
magic.
Okay, that's a small one, but I guess you listed quite a few of them. Positive self-talk. It's easy to sit here and go, yeah, well, we've done the training, but you've got to get good at doing that when you're in the middle of the dark place
Yeah,
in the run,
yeah,
where you go, oh, I can't do this. I need to stop.
yeah.
I always find that I start looking at the gutter, the gutter in the road, and going,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that looks really comfortable. I could I could just slide down in there.
Oh, is
um,
that the kilometer 35 of the marathon? Like,
yes,
that's when you
usually.
feel like that?
Or,
Yeah.
or you see somebody actually sitting in the gutter and you go, oh, that looks really nice.
Yeah, or you're like, oh my gosh, that could be me next.
So the idea is, to be positive about yourself and reinforce that for when going gets tough.
Yeah, so
Um,
that section had actually there are some steps to it, and that section is a bit of a workbook style because she like says note down 3 things that you like, and then 3 things that bother you, and then the ones that bother you, you try and change them so that they're more positive.
okay, so she leads you through actually building some positive self-talk that works for you as an individual rather than just say,
Mm-hmm.
say this thing that Cara always uses. No, develop
Yeah,
your own that works for you.
but it's fun because she gives her own examples, like from her own confidence journal. So you have
Okay.
these little like examples, you know, throughout the book, which is
Yeah.
nice because sometimes like it jogs your memory and you can think of your own after once you've read hers. So I
Yeah,
like
I
that.
noticed during the book there's actually handwritten sections
Hmm.
from her actual journal, so you see what she's writing. So you can see, oh, well, it's not that much, but it's very specific, and we'll talk about the actual journal towards the end. Mantra. So mantra is one of the things.
Yeah, so this is like it's sort of like the one word kind of something that'll I guess that gets you through the hard sections of a race. I remember my very first marathon, which was in 2007. I basically had the goal I just wanted to finish because I didn't know what I
Yeah,
was doing. I had no idea about how to train. I just ran a lot and that was it. And I was just hoping for the best. So it's kind of like run a lot and then cross your fingers and hope that it all works out.
yeah,
And at one point in the race, and I don't know why, I don't know if somebody was playing music, but like I kept saying to myself, like life is life, but it's a song and I don't know where it came from
yeah,
and it was just playing in my head. And for that whole I don't know, second half of the run, which is quite a long time when you run for 4 hours, so like 2 hours,
mhm,
but it got me through the whole entire it got me through that race and my first marathon, but then I never used it again. So she also talks about, you know, you can change your mantra. It doesn't have to always be the same thing forever, because sometimes something that speaks to you right now in a few years maybe is not the right thing anymore.
yeah. I think you got this is something that resonates with me. So you got this, you got this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't doubt yourself.
Yeah.
I also have this thing about it's not 42K, it's only 41K. You've heard me, you've heard me say that, haven't you? That's kind of
Yep.
a mantra. Yeah, it's not 26 miles, it's only 25 miles. So when you've got 5 miles to go, you go, no, 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 it's only 4 miles to go. Yeah,
Yeah. I for some reason I'm not sure that would work. I think I prefer to know that it's I have 5 miles, but then only think about one at a time.
yeah, but my rationale is the last mile runs itself, the last K runs itself. Once you're within 1K of the finish, you don't have to worry about anything. You'll get there.
It's
Um,
true. It's true.
yeah, so we've talked about enclosed cognition, and power pose. What else do we have in the techniques? Goal
So
setting.
she's got the visualization,
Oh,
which kind
yes.
of resonated with me because I remember we had to do this when I was
Okay.
at Concordia. So
Yeah,
in the in
you trained with quite a decent level track squad, huh? That
yeah, well, we trained
create national champions sometimes.
sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
not in my case, but
Ah, well.
but I do have a friend that became a national championship under the same coach. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah, we did this the visualization. The first time I had done it was we were just all in a room and we had a master student in sports psychology that was working with some of the Concordia teams, not just us, which I think she was also working with some of the other sports teams like soccer or hockey or something like that. And she did a few sessions with us as well, and one of the things that she did with us was the visualization technique. And I remember in the book, Kara said that she was also kind of introduced to it in the same way, like through in her team, in sort of her team environment. And then the coach said, okay, so now you're going to visualize your cross country race, which is 5K. And so she got up after like 30 seconds, and because you were
You're
the
supposed to
goal was
visualize
to
the whole distance of the
uh,
5K all the way through.
exactly. So she was
Oh,
supposed to
wow, that's hard
visualize the
work.
Yeah, so it should have been like whatever 20 minutes or 18 minutes or whatever amount of time it takes you to run that distance. But she
Yeah.
she like sat up after 30 seconds and then that's when she understood she didn't do it
Yeah,
properly.
I guess just listening to it, that's what I would do. I'd visualize the finish line,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Go, okay, I can see the finish line. I'm there. I'm still on my feet.
Yeah, I remember when we were doing it, the psychologist told us the idea isn't that you just visualize when it's going well, like you have to visualize when it's not going well and then what you're going to do about it. Because the
Hmm.
theory is that whatever you practice, like your brain doesn't know the difference between if you've done it for real or if you've visualized it when it's done properly.
Yeah,
So that's the theory.
yeah,
It's almost like getting extra race practice by doing these visualizations, but they're really hard.
yeah,
Like they're not easy to do. And then I remember my issue was because in the book, Kara says you can do the visualization while you're running, which I found easier because I remember just feeling really anxious when I was lying there visualizing because I would visualize myself on the starting line and I used to get super nervous. So, like, I'd visualize myself and then my heart would start racing, like as if I was really on the starting line
yeah.
and I would feel breathless. But then it's weird because you're not
Because you're lying down, so it's not congruent with your body posture.
exactly. And then it
Yeah.
would kind of take me some time to get over it. It was
Be
like,
easier to visualize it properly while you're actually moving.
yeah, and then you're moving, so you kind of run it off. So then
Mm,
I don't know. I found that it's probably not my favorite technique, but if I do have to do it,
yeah.
like I would prefer to do it while running and not just like when I'm lying there and visualizing all this stressful event.
It's a bit of a discipline, I think. It's kind of tough. It's the sort of thing you could do the night before a big race or something like
Hmm.
that, while you're twiddling your thumbs, waiting, getting nervous about your run.
Yeah.
On visualization and what Tony Robbins calls. I come from a management background, and I find a lot of these things in Kara's confidence journaling and strong connect well to management. A lot of management
Hmm.
theory, which is about how you lead yourself and people to be better. In visualization, there's Tony Robbins and his neuro-linguistic programming, which is about make a mental process that you can fire your action and do that from a brain point of view. And some people say, well, does it really work? And usually what I say to people is, I have one little comeback on that, which is usually I get people to, okay, if you don't think it works, work with me here. Think about really hard about cutting cutting a lemon up, and you're dicing it up, and then you pick up a piece of lemon and you see it and it's all juicy and it's all running over your fingers, and you bring it to your mouth and you bite down hard on the lemon. And if you've just followed that with me now in this little dialogue, you find that your mouth is salivating. Why is your mouth salivating? There's no lemon. Answer,
True.
your brain has told your body to do something. So
Yeah.
if that works, and there's evidence that it does there, you probably just had the evidence if you followed with me. If you don't think that visualization techniques work, well, I just gave you a visualization technique and it did. So I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. Also, all the I in most sports, people always look to the elites, and whatever the elites do, like it's obviously working because they're performing at a really high level. And I mean, it's I think this is pretty common. Like the visualization is, I mean, I've heard it so many times
Yeah,
in different
it's pretty
contexts.
well
Yeah.
accepted now, I think.
Yeah.
But if you're a beginner just listening to it and going, nah, I don't
Mm.
know.
If you think, oh, it's not for me,
No.
but the thing is, it takes time to sort of master these techniques or even like get kind of good at them so that they have the benefit they're supposed to have. So if you start right away, then it'll benefit you later. And even now, it'll, no matter what your level, I think confidence is important. Instead of going out and being on a starting line and feeling like an imposter, which is the imposter syndrome that
That I mentioned
that you
earlier.
you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. Then if you go out with a bit more confidence and sense of belonging, then you'll definitely run better in every situation.
Yeah, just coming back to me talking about management techniques, I noticed one of the confidence techniques that the Cara offers us is goal setting.
Yes.
In managerial circles, we used to sort of say about set smart goals. very
Mm-hmm.
specific, measurable, etc. And it's very comparable what she come out with, except that I think her stuff is better in many ways, because also she talks about having a goal that's inspirational, which is, it turns you on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in
Yeah.
management terms, you're probably going to get your goals whether you like them or not.
Yeah, it's just about making sure they're attainable and realistic and all that kind of thing. But yeah, in running, you definitely want to be inspired. I think usually when we have a goal in running, it inspires us.
I know I told everybody last year that I was going to I tried to say that I was going to run rather than I was going to try to run a 308 marathon,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was like the fastest one I've run maybe for 5-6 years. And as somebody who's getting on in their years, that was quite a scary goal for me. But part of trying to be very precise with it and very public with it was to make myself accountable,
Mm-hmm.
to be inspired by it and not be frightened of it, and to be ready to do the work.
Yeah, and I remember John actually when I was training with John, he was very much into that, making your goals, like vocalizing them, because then they make it, I guess it makes it real and it makes you accountable, that's for sure, or it at least makes you accountable for the training. When your goals are out there and they're public, sometimes it's that little extra push that you need in those workouts that are like sort of hard at the end. So you'll kind of give that little extra push, or even in the race, if you're kind of slipping sometimes because that you told everybody that you were going to try and do this. Like for me, I've told so many people that next year in Ottawa, I'm going to run a sub 3 hour marathon. Like now I better do it.
Yep. Yep. And now you've just told the hundreds and hundreds of people who listen to our podcast.
Oh, yes. Now I'm.
So you're extremely accountable now. We'll have an update on that as we go through our podcast and see how that pans out. Okay, so confidence techniques. What haven't we covered in Kara's confidence techniques?
So one of the last things she mentions was so we didn't cover power pose, I don't think.
Oh, you mentioned it
Because we
earlier.
mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I did mention it earlier. But social connections was kind of the last one, if we go in order of the book. And in that section, she talks about sort of connecting with other runners, or being a mentor for a runner that's less experienced than you, or a young runner, and that can give you confidence. Gives confidence to that other person, but it also can give you confidence, because
it's kind of a what goes around comes around type of thing.
Yeah.
If you encourage other people, you live in a bubble of encouragement, because everybody's encouraging each other, and for sure, if other people are encouraging you, that's going to help you.
Mm-hmm. And she mentions this at some point. I don't remember where it was mentioned, but I'm pretty sure she mentions at some point to sort of be around people be in an environment that's positive, like be around people that make you feel good.
They're a can do, and they encourage you,
Yeah,
and they believe in you. And
like, I mean, there's always like, let's say when I started running marathons, I would tell my dad, like, oh, I'm going to run this marathon, and he'd be like, why? Like, why would you go run that far? Like, those distances are like dumb. So
thanks, Dad.
and it's okay. Like, he's got his opinion about it because he's run one marathon and he just thought it was an awful experience. So yeah. I mean, it's fair, like, to each his own, they're allowed. But if I was going to just go hang out with my dad and talk about marathons, I mean, I would be totally demoralized by the time I get into training. So then I balance it out by talking with you, who's super excited about running and doing
some
new
people
things.
wouldn't say that to you. They'd run themselves out of their own program halfway around the Toronto Marathon to keep beside you, to go, you got this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then then maybe have to suffer a little bit at the end,
and then maybe have to pay a little price in the second half of the marathon, but that's okay. That's all fine. Okay, so social connections are important. and a network of that helps you to be accountable with each other as well. Okay, so that sort of covers confidence techniques. Next section in the book, I suppose the next thing to come on to would be the essays, the confidence essays.
Yeah, so
You want to
she
just
had
talk us through what that was about?
yeah, she had a few people write confidence essays. So she had Molly Huddle, who was also very good US marathoner. So it was a bit like each person would talk about confidence in some way. So either their struggles with confidence or how they overcame their struggles with confidence. So it was a bit like these little inspirational
So giving
sort
their
of
own spin on it.
yeah. And so
Okay.
she had
Emma
a few
Coburn,
women, yeah, Emma Colburn, and she had
Sally Bergenson, who is the
Bergensen, yeah,
CEO of Oiselle,
yes, which is
the
a
clothing company.
clothing company, yep, for women, I think only. At least when they first started, I think they were for women only. Yeah, so there were a few others, I think.
Yeah, here, I've got the book
But
in front of me. Christy Tillington Burns, who's head of Every Mother Counts. So she's into physical and mental goals. Robin Arzen, who's an ultramarathoner. Mary Wittenberg, who was CEO of New York Runners. So there's 6 there, I think, that all give their own little vignettes on
mhm.
confidence and different views and different aspects and different focus, and gives you an idea of all the various aspects. And then Cara talks about how to construct a confidence journal.
Yep,
How
that's
to.
the end of the book is a bit like well, it's a little bit like a journal tutorial, I guess, because
Yeah.
she has little prompts, so questions to prompt you to think about, like your last training or um, or your last race or whatever. And the idea of the confidence journal is that you write an entry every day. I think for her, she would write an entry every day, and she would try and find something positive, something that she did well in her run. Well, for us, because we're runners, so what do we care about? We care about the runs. So the idea is that but I mean, it can apply to any aspect of your life, obviously, but in the context of being for your running and improving your confidence as a runner. So you want to pick out something every day that you did that was good, and she has a few questions to like prompt your ideas. And I think at the end it's just there's a few like blank pages where you can start to write. But yeah, I kind of tried to start to write a little bit in just my agenda, because it doesn't have to be long. It just has to be detailed enough that you can go back to your confidence journal and read the entries and remember what it was that you had done, how you felt, and that kind
Okay,
of
so you're
thing.
talking about like a couple of lines,
Yeah, like it
really.
doesn't, because when you look at Kara's entries, they're just really a couple of lines, but it needs to be specific enough that you remember what was going on and how you felt, because then the idea is that you use that journal when you're going into a race to sort of boost your confidence by reading over all the things that were positive in like your training or in your life, or so you can go back and you can read all these entries, and it'll help keep or put you into that positive mindset for your competition.
You got any examples?
Any
So I'm
examples?
asking you for an example, but I'm actually the one who's in possession of the book at the moment. But give us
um
an example from your confidence journal. Do you
okay,
have one?
so like I was kind of thinking about Kara had has a section where she asks you to write 3 things I like about my running. So I had found I know how to follow a plan. So, like, I'm really good. If you give me a plan for 12 weeks, I will do all of the workouts for 12
Yes, you
weeks,
will.
like,
Yes, you
without
will.
question. And
I would vouch for that.
but the problem is that can also be to my detriment. But I mean, it like, I think that it's mostly served me well, because obviously if you can be consistent with something, that's how you achieve the goal at the end.
Yep. Yep.
So then I also wrote, I'm good at running long when it's an easy pace. So that's like more my strength, is just running long and easy. And I think I'm supportive to runners of different abilities. So, I generally love anybody that runs. Like, if
Just
you
because they
run,
run, not because they run
yeah,
well or fast or whatever.
exactly. Yeah, just like if you run, and bonus, if you like to talk about running, yeah, I love you already.
Oh, thank you.
So, so
I'm feeling
Alan,
it. I'm feeling
yeah.
it. I, wr- I
So
wrote
did you?
I wrote today in my confidence journal.
Yeah.
This is quite unusual. This is new and innovative for me to do something like this, but I've been keeping my confidence journal for 3 days now. But I wrote today, a very fast pickup at the 14K mark, but it felt natural. My form felt good. 25K overall, sunny and wonderful.
Oh, see, even like just yeah, even the weather sounds positive.
Yeah, because it was a
I-
beautiful day this morning.
Yeah,
Spring
I
is
find
springing.
I find that that's similar to sort of the entries Kara had. Like, they were just they weren't very long, but you will know exactly how you felt in that moment.
Yeah, what I did was I just picked up a little booklet like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wrote all the prompts that Kara gave us in the book. I wrote them all on the first 2 pages, so I can just go back to that. And now each day I'll write something, and if I can't find something positive to say, I just go back to the prompts. And I'll say, like,
Mm-hmm.
what have you learned today? If it didn't go well, how did you deal with it? What did you love about your run? And from my point of view, and we were talking about it earlier, but from my point of view, what I find is I tend to have a negative sort of dialogue. I'm a very focus on the improvement, focus on the improvement, focus on the improvement, and
Mm-hmm.
then you get okay. It's kind of a good thing. It comes from my management. I used to be an executive in management, so it comes from that. I think yes, you did well today, but you could do better tomorrow. And I'm always pushing people towards the negative, and I find my
Mm-hmm.
dialogue, my internal dialogue lacks positivity. So I thought, I'll do this and try and flip the internal dialogue a bit. For people who need, people to tell them that they're not good enough, well, okay, I'm your guy probably, but that's not the idea of building confidence.
No, exactly. And
To be realistic, look at the positives and reinforce those.
yeah, yeah, and even just the exercise. So there's an exercise where Kara says to think up things that bother you, about your running or your mental state while you're running, and then you have to try and flip them around to make them positive, and that's really hard.
Yeah, those are the
I
advanced lessons. We'll stick with the easy stuff
Yeah,
first and
I
then
think I'll
work our way
start
up
with,
to it.
yeah, because I did think of the things that bother me, but then I was not able to flip any of them. So I think I'm just gonna do the
Well,
confidence journal for a little
Well, the
while and
positive
get.
thing about that is that you've identified those things, Liz. So
Oh,
you should
that's
give yourself a
true.
tick because I've identified those things and I'll put them away and get them out later when I'm ready to unpack them a bit
Hmm.
more. There you go.
That's
Look, it's
positive.
journal's
You're.
working on me already. Goodness me. Okay, so what I found though, it took me 15 minutes to put 10 minutes even to put the journal together. And the
Mhm.
commitment really is just when I get back into the house while I'm taking my shoes off, I just grab it and write a line in it.
Mhm.
It's not a big deal. It's not,
No, it's more getting into the habit that's difficult, more
and
than
it,
the
it could
actual
be quite
time.
positive.
Mhm.
So so that's basically the gist of the book. Do you want to do a bit of an overall summary of how we found the book, what we thought was good, what we thought was bad,
Yeah,
any
might
other
as well.
points? Unless you have any other
Um,
points you want to make.
I don't think I had anything
Okay,
really else
so
to say, but
overall, I mean, if I could go first, the book's
mhm,
sort of a square book, and it's very colorful. It's got lots of big bold words in it, big
mhm,
headings, photographs, and so it's very easy to digest. It's not if you're looking for Alex Hutchinson to give you a treatise on a lot of detail, you've
Yeah.
come to the wrong place. In fact, if you're looking for a story about Kara Goucher, you've probably come to the wrong place because it's more her talking about building confidence and trying to improve the version of you, build the best
Hmm.
version of you, so to speak. So in terms of how the book appears, it's very nice in terms of usable, friendly, easy to digest.
Yeah, and I think it's meant to be more like a guide to helping other people use the techniques that she's been using to improve confidence. And it's not like an extensive review of each technique and what it is. And it's really like how to do it. It's not really the research behind why you
No, it's
should
just
do
a
it.
little bit of practice.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't meant to be. No book can be everything. So, for like learning about all these techniques and why they work or what the research is behind them, then that would probably have to be a different book. This is really a how-to, and I think it does that pretty well.
Yeah, I think it does for what it sets out to do. I think
Hmm.
it does a great job.
It breaks it
Um,
down and.
I read the book through and had my journal up within half an hour of finishing the book.
Mhm.
So
And it
it's great.
even inspires a little bit. I think that's
Yeah,
those entries from the six people that she asked to
yeah.
contribute to her book. Like I find that, because they're all sort of high performers, so it can be inspiring to read about their struggles or their sort of their way of coping with low self-confidence and that kind of thing. I find that sometimes, you realize that they're human, and if they were able to overcome the demons that they had, then it makes me believe that I can overcome the demons that I had. So I find that it could be a bit of an inspirational book as well.
Anything that you thought was not so good or could be improved or negative? This is your
Not
hero,
Yeah, that's yeah, it's tough because I really like Kara, and I think it does what it set out to do. If it was to break down the techniques and help us use them, it did a good job of that, and I really like Kara, so I was really excited to read this book, and it's hard for me to look past that and have a negative opinion. So I might be a little biased.
I guess you should also probably give a little thanks to the publisher, Blue Star Press.
Yes, so they did give us the copy to review, so we're very thankful
But
for
we have
that.
to emphasize that our opinions will stay our opinions, irrespective of any free review books that we get, etc. Um,
Yes, and they
that
will
will that will never
probably
color our opinion,
no, and they will probably only hear the podcast once it comes out as well.
of
So
course. Yeah, I think I raised one point in particular with you on the end of the book, and that was it's entirely pitched towards females, so towards women. All of the testimonials are by women, which, given that there are six, clearly isn't a coincidence. I think, Kara in her dialogue in the book talks about, the women and us women. And I actually found the book to be quite interesting and useful to me, but wondered in that case, why isn't it directed towards me?
yeah, I
And I
didn't
wonder
really
if there was a
notice.
kind of hangover or a connection with the difficulties with women in training camps, elite training camps, and whether that it's not expressly discussed in the book, but whether that colored the dialogue in the book and the orientation of the book. Like my question to Kara would be, why no guys? Why haven't you geared this towards? It's not like it's not confidence is not a specific women issue. We all have some work to do there. I just kind of wondered why. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
maybe we'll get the answer eventually.
maybe we will.
I know you sent Kara a note, so we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Apart from that, I mean, it was good. Um, for what it was. I think I was hoping that it would have a bit more about Kara herself,
Mm-hmm.
a bit more content about her and her experiences. And
Maybe she needs to write a memoir. So,
yeah, and maybe
Kara, if
she
you're
figures
listening,
her story's not finished yet. So yeah,
maybe,
maybe.
maybe she's waiting. Maybe she's waiting for a little bit later in a few years. But yeah, definitely if ever she comes out with a memoir, I would read that too.
So you want to give it a rating?
So I would rate it. I mean, I think that in terms of the how to, I would definitely rate it like a 5 star. It does, it breaks everything down into nice, manageable little chunks, easy to follow, easy to start trying to implement these techniques. And it's not meant to have a bunch of theories, so I won't take off points for not having all the theory and background behind it,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
don't think that was the point.
Yeah, it
Uh,
doesn't pretend to be. There is a reference section to some. There's about a dozen, maybe, references. So
mhm.
there is a reference. So there is some technical stuff like in mindset. With some research, she does refer to it. So there's a little bit of technical, but it doesn't purport to be a technical book. So you can't write it down
No,
for that. I agree.
no, and its purpose was not to tell you why you need to improve your confidence. Basically, if you're picking up this book, I think it's because you recognize the need to improve your confidence, and this book is going to help you do it.
And I would say everybody could be a little bit more, have a little bit more. Some people need a lot and some people need a little bit, but everybody
Mm-hmm.
needs something because at their level, I think everybody has that challenge
Mm-hmm.
to be mentally correct.
Yeah,
Um,
and I
I think
think
I
it
sorry, you go
never
ahead.
go. Yeah, I think it never goes away. I think it just changes, as you progress. So you become a better runner, but you don't
Mm.
necessarily have more confidence just because you're a better runner. So I think
I think I would give it 4.5, just because of the
because there are no men
yeah. I feel
in the essays.
excluded a little bit. Yeah,
Oh.
that's all. But it spoke to me, the fact that there was no men. I was reading it and saying, so where's the guys? Yeah, where are the guys talking about that stuff? So I'm deducting half a point for that, I think. All right. But great fun and very useful little book. Any other points?
I think that's
Or do you
I
want to
think
give
that's about
our
it.
just before we wind up? Do you want to give our social media
Yes, so we
info?
are we are on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, Running Book Reviews. We also have an Instagram page, also called Running Book Reviews. We are on Twitter. I think our Twitter handle is at Running Reviews, running underscore
At reviews
reviews.
running or something like that. But if you type running book reviews, you'll find us probably
Our logo is the same
everywhere.
everywhere. So just look for the logo. And we're on all the podcast platforms. So Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and a few others that
Yeah.
I didn't name, but we're everywhere. So you can leave us a review.
Yeah, if you could leave us a review or a comment, that would be greatly appreciated. It's good to get feedback, and it's hard to get feedback when you're doing podcasts sometimes.
And you can
Okay,
give us feedback on our Facebook page as well, because I guess it's more direct. So
you can see what we look like. Okay, I'll close it up then. That's the book Strong by Kara Goucher. If you think it could be interesting for you or useful, you might want to get out there and get your own copy. In the meantime, we'll just keep going with our confidence journals and building our confidence for our running. And we'll see you all again soon on the next exciting issue of Running Book Reviews. Bye for now.
bye.